Rewind-A-Dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly as we hear from John and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know.
It's John Pollock and Wai Ting. We're all wound up. We're wired. We just did a 45-minute high-intensity news pack.
High-intensity interval training.
Okay, that was the second eye. Yeah, I was searching.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we did. We talked about a lot there. We went through a photograph with Hangman Page and Marty Scurll.
Yeah.
25-minute discussion right there.
Mm-hmm. One of the big controversies. Was that 25 minutes? Did we really spend
No,
that
I'm
much time?
guessing. I don't know. That was a long news pack. That's a fairly long one for us. We talked about Dana White in court today. Everything you want to know about Dana White came out in court today. That was quite something. We have a new NXT champion, Joe Hendry. How exactly did the ladder match perform? Not for the fans, but to the two of us. That's really all you care about, I know. Nielsen, it's a total mess, but we tried to navigate through it. Britt Baker, status update from Tony Khan, and what's happening on Impact. What's happening in Impact, period, in general?
Always the question.
Those questions. Yes.
We ask, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot to talk about for Dynamite tonight, and welcome all here on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel. We're going to Las Vegas, Nevada tonight, where, just think, Wai, you could have taken in the Dana White testimony and then got into your car, took an Uber over to the Pearl Concert Theater. What a day!
Oh, I forget WrestleMania. You know, this is the Vegas weekend that you really want.
Yeah, today was day one of the testimonies from Zuffa or UFC executives. Tomorrow is day two. But yeah, you could have taken in Dynamite. WrestleTix announcing 1,773 tickets distributed. This is not a gigantic venue. I think it was slotted for, I think it can hold just under 2,000. So we're not talking about a huge establishment to begin with. TNA has run this a bunch of times. Of course, the UFC, this was a prominent arena that they ran quite often. Yet again, no Bryan Danielson. And I'm wondering what his commentary future is looking like, because it's been multiple weeks now. It seems to have coincided with his comments about his neck and aggravating it with more traveling, because I would imagine he's going to be used on commentary, but maybe just more sparingly, whether it's a pay-per-view or when it makes sense, as opposed to weekly being on the road.
No Taz either.
Yeah, no Taz either. Mm-hmm. So it was just Excalibur and Tony Schiavone for the show. And then they were taping Collision right afterwards. And we got kind of what they generally reserve for Collision episodes, with the procession of promos off the top. We had MJF referring to Brody King as homeless, and then Brody's retort. Kenny Omega going to get one step closer to the title, and does bring up the Phantom Attack by Andrade in October, the attack that no one would speak about, and then calling Don Callis' attempts to end his career absolutely impotent, just like you. And Callis responds, Babes of Wrath, and then Bane and Ford at the end, all cutting promos to tee up the show. We had this kind of promoting all the matches, and then a bunch of video packages throughout the night of talent that is not on the show and talent that is hurt. Lots of different videos on the show.
I like the cold open promos. I think it's a great way to tee up the matches coming up, and just even economically gives you a little bit of promo time for every match, so you know exactly what the story is heading into it. I mean, it's something that I think has worked well for Collision. If they wanted to start doing it in Dynamite, I think that's a great idea. So I'm for it. Well,
based on this new methodology from Nielsen, Collision might be the A show after this week. So maybe Dynamite's going to be trying to catch up. Jon Moxley, Pac, and Daniel Garcia against Konosuke Takeshita, Josh Alexander, and El Clone. And we had I enjoyed seeing Pac and Clone together. They were in multiple times. They built up to a few tags with Moxley and Takeshita coming in. Well, more on those two coming up. Clone came off the top and was caught by a cutter from Moxley, and then Garcia put him in the Dragon Tamer. He's hit with the stomp. and in runs Josh Alexander for the save. And Garcia is left alone with Takeshita. He survives a Blue Thunder Bomb. He survives the Bastard Driver and Wheelbarrow German and a power drive knee as they hold him, and then finally falls to the Raging Fire in 13 minutes and 18 seconds as the Death Riders get the victory. And I guess we can state now that a lot of this show was finalizing the card for Grand Slam Australia, and that will include Jon Moxley making the first defense of his Continental Championship against Konosuke Takeshita.
Big match. Yeah.
Yeah, earlier than I expected they would go to that match.
It could be a series, but I mean, there are a lot of big matches in store for this roster, and so to put that match on that show, it certainly doesn't feel out of place. I thought this trios match was great, but I actually enjoyed the previous Don Callis family Death Riders trios a little bit more. That one involving, of course, Lance Archer, Rocky, and Hechicero.
Yeah, this one needed glass.
I mean, you're right. That was a street fight. I mean, it had the added elements of, like, I think Lance Archer being booked like a really effective monster. You had Marina Shafir with a great spot in there as well. So I'm kind of surprised because this is more like, if that was the B team Don Callis family, this is closer to A level with Takeshita and Alexander and Clone. But the booking I thought was better in that match. This was still a very good match in terms of action. Clone and Pac in particular looked great together. Clone, man, like, he feels like a very special talent when you just look at him and the way he moves. There's really, like, very few that are.
I thought he got over very well, even in losing to Mark Briscoe last week. I thought it was a good showcase for him. And then again here, I really enjoyed him and Pac. I don't disagree. Like, I thought the street fight certainly had more of that kind of babyface fire out of the Death Riders. That was pretty novel. But just looking at this, like, with all of the members you got on the Don Callis family, there's just so many matches that can come out.
You got like 4 trios teams in the Don Callis family.
You have all these trios you can do. You can do a Pac and a Clone on a Collision just for the hell of it for 15 minutes, and I think that
you could do a year's worth of Death Riders versus Don Callis family, and I feel like they won't run out of matches. I thought this was, like, it continues to be interesting seeing Mox and Takeshita in their respective roles within their factions, because they're both guys that are certainly, you would classify as baby faces now, but they are still embedded within groups that are, I would consider, straight up heels in the case of the Don Callis family, and at least in the case of the Death Riders, maybe at least a little bit more gray. But it's a reminder that like it really doesn't matter a whole lot when both teams just kind of want to kill each other. So regardless of their babyface or heel statuses, you still have a very cohesive story because both teams want to kill each other. So I overall thought the match put a decent spotlight on Mox and Takeshita heading to Grand Slam.
Renee interviewed Swerve and Nana. Nana did the talking that they're still focused on going to the top of AEW even after the loss to Andrade. And then there was this video for Will Ospreay. It was a really great video featuring the beatdown at Forbidden Door that took him out, an x-ray of his neck, and then showing him in a hospital bed. And this totally had like the vibe of all this needed was a U2 soundtrack underneath it. That was the vibe I got from this. And he is rebuilding because this is the biggest moment of his life. And I don't know, this seemed... I would imagine if you are someone that is aiming to go to Wembley Stadium, I think this video would give you a lot of optimism.
Certainly, yeah. The fact that they you could do a video really at any point to give people a status update on somebody. This felt a lot more than that. Like, this felt like a hype video to get you hyped for a return. And what was also notable was that later on, in showcasing their tweets, which is a segment that I never really am that much of a fan of, but in this case, they did have a fan, or they showed that a fan was tweeting, "Oh boy, the bruv is returning soon." So to like actually actively show that tweet seems to maybe show like their approval of the message. Of course, like, what the hell does soon mean? It could be like 6 months from now, it could be a year from now, but this actually certainly leads you, to feel confident that a Wembley return is probable.
Orange Cassidy and Timeless Tony Storm went through Jordan Oasis and Brittany Brooks. Storm's out in a denim outfit. We got bald chants for Oasis, some Mongolian chops from Tony Storm, and just they've been doing some of these just quick mixed tag matches with Cassidy and Timeless Tony Storm. They did their waltz, hip attack to Oasis, and then an orange punch in 2 minutes and 53 seconds.
Yeah, I think this is just, it continues to be a really brilliant pairing to me. It offers something fresh for the both of them when I think both have felt somewhat stagnant in their respective divisions. And just the mixture of personalities, the loud personality of a Tony Storm is, I think, such a great compliment to play off of, well, Orange Cassidy, who is the complete antithesis. And, but both are like somehow like ridiculous and comedic in their own ways. Um, like here at the end, just seeing Tony roll on the floor with her celebration, while Orange Cassidy just kind of stands there aloof, watching, is just the perfect sort of visual encapsulation of like the differences in their personalities and how well it works for me.
Well, both begin to express their regret, having several days to reflect on, willing to put their hair on the line. Storm doesn't want to look like a bald penis. She says, "I'll look disgusting." And the comedy here is that Luther is just standing there as she is describing how awful it would be to be bald. And Storm then pumps herself up, stating that, either Yuta's going to get a cute comb over or I'm going to make Marina look like Mox.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is. Darby Allin is shown skating into work and gets attacked by Gabe Kidd and is rammed into the truck. And we get the AEW arrival of Wheelson.
Yeah. Is it Wheelson or Tireson? Wheelson?
I think it's Wheelson.
Okay.
I think that's... I'm pretty sure it's been referred to as both, but...
yeah, Wheelson. Okay. Wheelson is all elite. Congratulations.
Will it get a graphic? That's the question.
It should. It should.
So,
and,
yeah.
And they even had, like, reason for, like, why a spare tire would be there, because, I mean, they pulled up in a car.
They did, right? Yes, and they proceeded to put Darby Allin into the back of the car, and drive off into the desert. As Darby Allin got to play Joe Pesci in a Scorsese film here in the desert of Las Vegas.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, first it's great seeing Connors and Kidd paired together here, and you look forward to like their future interactions with the rest of this roster, including Shibata, of course. But I don't know, this whole like Vegas drag a man out into the desert type of thing is so...
I thought they were going to bury him.
Great. Yeah, I mean, but they already kind of made the point, right? By leaving him out in the middle of nowhere. But it's just like ridiculous enough for television, but you could still believe that this would actually happen to somebody like a Darby Allin,
I hope we get some vignettes of him making his way back to the city.
Sure.
The desert.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hangman Page and Mark Davis. So MJF has offered Mark Davis $1,000 to take out Hangman Page. Andrade has increased the offer to $10,000. They did bring up Jake Doyle being injured, but not a big focus on Doyle. Page yanks Davis from the top turnbuckle right into a sit-out powerbomb. Davis ends up on the edge, and there's a sunset bomb that gets stopped as he hits a seated senton, and then Davis just runs right into the barricade. I thought this guy was dead set on joining his tag partner on the injured reserve here. He just puts everything into... He's a big man that just does a lot of damage to his body. So Page hits an Orihara moonsault off the railing, and then another in the ring. Davis just nails him with this big lariat, goes for the big deadlift off of the mat, and it's turned into the Deadeye, ducks a buckshot, and then after a reversal, Davis gets tombstoned on the ramp and hit with the buckshot as Hangman wins in 11 minutes and 25 seconds. I really enjoyed this match. I thought Mark Davis was great.
Me too. Yeah, I think Davis definitely stood out. He has found a style and a thing that makes him unique, where you no longer look at him and just look at him as the forgotten member of Aussie Open. He's showing how great of a big high intensity power wrestler he is, and with that lariat, and now wearing the shorts instead of the trunks, or wearing the trunks instead of the short shorts, it really does make you think about a Stan Hansen, or maybe a sort of a JBL type of guy. And I think there was certainly something to this Doyle tag team that gave you two of that type of wrestler. But just even that transformation alone was enough to inspire something in Mark Davis to the point where as a singles wrestler, I think he actually is showing a lot of potential. And that's really considerable growth from when he just returned to the Don Callis family to now. He's managed to find something that makes him very appealing.
I hope they do something with Davis and don't just sideline him because of Jake Doyle, because Doyle's going to be out for several months, and there's no excuse not to do something here with Davis in the meantime.
Yeah.
Page announces he's going to Australia for the #1 contenders match, and he hopes to see Kenny Omega there, and he's going to stomp every last future child out of MJF's tiny balls at Revolution to win the title he never lost. Then there's a Kevin Knight video putting over his wins against Darby Allin and Kazuchika Okada in the Continental Classic and recently winning the Trios belts. And he will face Scorpio Sky on Collision Saturday. So, very, I don't know what the prediction markets will say about that match on Saturday.
Scorpio Sky or Kevin Knight.
Yeah.
I wonder how much action that we'll see.
Probably very little. Andrade El Idolo and Kenny Omega. Omega early on tries a one-winged angel on the floor, but it's blocked. Excalibur brings up his diverticulitis, and Callis cuts him off, just says, "Stop talking about it." And Andrade hits a springboard tornillo to the floor, which made me realize we're definitely not in picture-in-picture if he's doing this. And he starts flirting with a bunch of women in the front row, takes a selfie, and then goes for the double moonsault, landing on the knees. Omega comes back, pair of snapdragons and a V-trigger from behind, lifts up Andrade on the turnbuckle on his shoulders, which he turns into a powerbomb, follows with a DDT, and then a V-trigger gets thwarted with the spinning elbow, and Callis jumps onto the apron, tosses the screwdriver to Andrade, distracting Aubrey Edwards. So Swerve comes down, yanks the screwdriver away, but as Aubrey is dealing with Swerve, Andrade hits Kenny low and proceeds to hit the DM. Yeah. Kenny Omega loses to the DM in 16 minutes and 34 seconds, setting up Andrade and Hangman for Australia. And I'm not that against this idea. Like, yes, you were kind of dangling Omega and Hangman, but it sort of feels like this is going to be the gauntlet for MJF. I think he's going to end up with Hangman at Revolution, and I could see Kenny being like double or nothing. And I think that makes...
No. I see Dynasty. Vancouver.
Oh, yeah, you got Dynasty in the middle there, too. Yeah,
it's in Vancouver, which I think...
You're right.
Is
You're
perfect.
right. That one could make sense, too, for Dynasty. I totally forgot about the April pay-per-view. But... yeah, I mean, the point of this, like last week and this week, is you have created this whole field of challengers. And in the meantime, as we got in this post-match, it looks like you're going to get Kenny and Swerve. They did a big pull-apart here, so I think people will be more than happy with that singles match with the two contenders that have been sidelined for the time being.
Yeah, this certainly, like Kenny and Swerve in no way feels like a bronze medal match. Like this, to me, has as much interest than what will likely be the main event of Page versus MJF. Honestly, I might even have more interest in Kenny versus Swerve. I love the way that they got here, like by putting so much attention onto Kenny Omega being the challenger, having Page in the prior segment directing so much attention towards facing Kenny Omega, really leading you to think like Kenny was going to be the guy to face MJF. So I love the shock of the booking here. I thought they orchestrated that wonderfully. And again, like it didn't leave you feeling disappointed because you're left with Swerve versus Omega at the end of it all, which again, I'm kind of more excited by. So
and you pulled it off twice in a row, because I don't think many people thought Andrade was losing to Swerve last week. Like you've given him like these two, AEW doesn't really go out of their way to do surprising outcomes.
But on this show, you had several surprising outcomes, or at least in the way that, the matches took place. So I thought the booking was really strong here. And I mean, it delays Kenny's title aspirations, but probably sets him up for like a more sort of like fulfilling,
Revolution
struggle.
Was way too soon for Kenny to be going for the belt. And you've got that Vancouver pay-per-view. I think you could even hold it off. Like you could put him in something else for Dynasty, but that does make a lot of sense if you need a title match for Vancouver as well.
Yeah. I mean, Kenny wrestling in Canada, I think is sort of a no brainer. But we'll see. For television, I thought like both guys really delivered in this match. They probably have another notch to get to if this was on pay-per-view, but I think for TV, it completely satisfied my expectation for it.
Yeah, you sort of had to do your TV type of finish here with the interference to get to what you wanted, but I did enjoy it for the time they had. They had 16 and a half minutes here. Brody King video, and then Renee interviews Chris Statlander. So they had promoted that she's going to announce the stipulation. She's having a rematch with Tekla next week, just because. And she said, well, you're going to have to wait until Collision for the stipulation.
I don't know why they would even. So what did they promote that the stipulation would be announced here? And they just
I believe they
decided not
did.
to?
I believe they did.
Yeah, I mean, I would have just not even done this segment because it's not like it's that.
It's not like this was a timing thing. And
it's not like it's not that interesting that like I'm going to tune into Collision just to find out what this like stipulation is, and in no way is a hook. And the bigger issue I continue to feel about Statlander is just I see a lot of experimentation. Like she's going a lot more in on this. What is it? Cosmic Killer? She's going a lot more in on like this whole alien thing. Although like she's not really an alien. She's just an alien in her style of dress, I suppose. And at this point I'm really kind of ready for this reign to end. And a rematch against Tekla really feels to me like it would be the time to do that. You know, because it's hard for me to see Tekla losing twice to her.
They announced Moxley and Takeshita for the Continental title added to Grand Slam Australia. We'll go over that card at the end with the updated lineup. Babes of Wrath against Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. This is an eliminator bout. And Excalibur brings up, I think this was during the picture-in-picture, but he notes that Penelope Ford, when she suffered her elbow injury in October, it was originally feared to be much worse, and she narrowly avoided Tommy John surgery, which is the death knell for pitchers, and would have had her out for a long time if that had been the case. So the fact that she injured this in October and came back in January, all things considered, I mean, turned out a lot better than it could have been.
She missed Blood and Guts. She missed the tag title tournament, but at least she didn't miss out on a year.
Yeah. Hopefully she has a nice armrest for the flight to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So they get the heat on Willow for a long period, but then when we come back from break, she hits the pounce, tags Harley, and Harley hits. Well, by default, I guess, is the top sling blade in the industry now. Right?
Wait a second. No, in AEW, maybe you could say, but like Finn Balor still does one.
Yeah. I'm being facetious.
I know you are.
But I can't focus too much on the sling blade because then she gets on top of Penelope Ford and she starts throwing these punches. And I put quotations around this. Like if there had been an egg on top of Penelope Ford, that egg would have been preserved. The camera, dude, they cut away. They cut to another shot because these punches were the lightest things in the world, and they looked not good, like not good for television. She does then. They do a bunch of double team maneuvers. There's a double team superplex onto Bayne. Then Ford hits a blockbuster to the champions, and then they hoist up Cameron for the Doomsday device and win in 9 minutes and 44 seconds. I momentarily forgot this was an eliminator bout, but Excalibur reminded me. Excalibur also said it's rare that these eliminators pay off. So, yeah, these are usually pointless. But
that would certainly change tonight.
Yes, there were two important ones. So the tag title match is added for Grand Slam Australia. But I think Megan Bayne has quietly improved. I thought she looked good in this match, and I think the experience she's had working for Stardom. I think there's a real lesson to be learned there about someone that has it was flying back and forth between AEW and Stardom throughout November and December. And I think you've seen improvements to her.
I think her presence is incredible. And I think in ring, she's very capable of playing this sort of monster character in the division. I think her promo still needs work. And it's not to say somebody in this role even needs to be a great talker, but I just think she could use a bit more sort of polishing in order to just feel a bit more complete as a champion level wrestler. So otherwise, I thought in terms of crispness of action, as you kind of pointed out, this was certainly a step down from the rest of the show. But what I could say about it is that the crowd was really engaged for this entire match. And we've seen a lot in AEW where the second hour, final half hour of the show, a women's match tends to can often just receive very low reaction. That was not the case for this particular crowd, who treated, I think, everybody here like they were stars. So that to me was a sign of like how much personality they put into essentially the mid card of this women's division over the past year. So do you see a title change?
I'll say no, but I don't completely rule it out. Like watching this, I came away with it. It's like I like Bane and Penelope Ford as a team together.
I could see a change because I mean Willow is the TBS champion, and I could see her continuing down that path. Meanwhile, I think you want to establish another team. You know, Babes of Wrath have held on to it for quite a while now. Are there better candidates to be tag team champions that are actual tag teams and not just, you know, maybe thrown together single stars?
Yeah, it's something different if you put them on heels here. Like I certainly think it wouldn't be a negative if they flip the titles next week. Tommaso Ciampa's with the TNT title. He's going to continue the tradition of the open challenge. This is game. I'm not going to complain about these open challenges, but they are becoming like just the when we have no ideas, there's always the open challenge for these belts. And
I don't think it's just that. I mean, they add a level of unpredictability attached to it. And let's remember, like, Cody started this whole TNT Open Challenge, open title challenge thing, right? So I like it. I mean, for a babyface, obviously, you know, because it offers like an element of surprise. Although they didn't really give you the surprise.
There was
here.
What was open about this? Like, we literally finished this promo where he mentioned that Sylvie, that is the name of this new belt, likes her new home. And then we just announced it's Ciampa, Claudio, and Roderick Strong in the 2007 ROH special.
The assumption, I suppose, is that like this was pre-recorded, and in that time somehow Strong and Claudio got wind of this.
What, they went to the production truck and watched like the rough cut of this promo and watched all the takes?
I really don't know.
How did that work?
Clearly, they taped this with Ciampa before they knew what match they were going to book, because I think it would have been nice to see.
Yeah, this was probably taped on Saturday.
It would have been nice to see Claudio and Strong interact and somehow both knock on Tony's door at the same time in order to answer this.
Yeah,
right?
They were taping Collision after this, so Ciampa would have been there for.
Oh,
this.
okay. Well, then why not? Why didn't they shoot something like to explain the?
I can't answer this question. It was just like it was an open challenge for all of 10 seconds. And yeah, we also have the parking lot brawl.
Can you just imagine that? Like they're in the back. Ciampa's cutting the promo, and mid promo, like you're seeing Strong and Claudio rush.
They always racing. Ricochet and Jack Perry for the AEW national title. Out comes Jack Perry with his knife and dives on Ricochet. Did you follow Ricochet the last 24 hours? What a storm the man has been going through.
Well, I'm trying to get some engagement, farm some engagement. I'm sure
we did. Got a lot of engagement. Yeah. Perry dives at him. Perry ends up getting tossed over the desk. And Ricochet did this awesome sequence. He hits this Northern Lights into a vertical suplex, rolls to the edge of the apron for another vertical, and then rolls to the floor for a Death Valley driver, all holding on to Jack Perry. Looked so impressive. Ricochet then grabs the belt, just slides it into the ring, and Rick Knox, who is like a little 3-year-old child that sees a ball rolling and has to go after it, and he didn't even do anything behind the ref's back. Like this is just pointless. It's just to remind you that Rick Knox has like the IQ of like a paramecium. From there, he gets caught in the snare trap, drags away from the rope, and now GOA arrive, and he stops Khan from getting involved. So Toa just casually walks to the side of the ring. Knox can't have his attention on two people at once. And Toa helps Ricochet to the rope, breaking the snare trap. And then the Young Bucks show up, attacking GOA, who have also now been added for a match for Collision with the Bucks and GOA. The belt gets placed on the buckle in all of this. Perry gets sent into it, and Ricochet hits Vertigo in 13 minutes and 22 seconds. I was really enjoying this match. I liked it a lot more than their one a few weeks ago. But by the end of this, I mean, on a show where it's just so much of these very overbooked finishes where we've got to just protect the babyface at all cost. I can only take so much of this all on one show. And it's like, if we're going to do this for Omega, and then it's like we booked this match and we'll give you some good wrestling, but it's like, how do we get out of this match? And I understand. It sets up matches. It's there was a purpose for it, but it does become complacent.
For a promotion that, like, I think when it started, sort of, built a bit of its reputation on not doing too many of these. They have relied on this sort of thing with the Don Callis family. I mean, with the Death Riders, even prior to that, and now with certainly any of their heels. I think that is a worthy criticism. I recognize that the action was really strong here, but there's just something about the pairing that just like doesn't really engage me a whole lot. I don't really care to see Jack Perry win this title for one thing, and
he's the Sami Zayn of the AEW National Title division.
Sure, yeah.
He's going to be 0-11, and we're at 2 so far. So get ready.
I think Perry looked great in the match. Like as a babyface again, he's just like so much more interesting and so much more appealing to watch. But nothing's really been like unlocked to me to the point
he hasn't broken through. I would not be putting this guy over for this title. I thought Ricochet worked really well in this match. I did think they had a better match than the one they had a few weeks ago. But I don't disagree. Like, I don't see Jack Perry as one of your top, 8 baby faces that you would have. I mean, his
path would have been the tag team with Luchasaurus, but unfortunately that's been cut out, and therefore what are you kind of left with Jack Perry? But like a national.
He needs to make
title.
friends with Mark Davis. That should be what he does.
That could be like he needs to join the Don Callis family. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe Davis could leave the Don Callis family. They could lose a member.
Yeah, maybe.
What are the Ops going to do? Joe's hurt. Hobbs is he's got the keys to the kingdom, and it's down to Shibata and Hook. That's a pretty those Ops are.
I don't know.
They're in trouble.
Well, they have the whole what do they call them?
Oh, the dojos.
The dojo.
The dojo students. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so they had to explain this. It's the Young Bucks against GOA on Collision. The winners of that match will enter a 3-way #1 contenders match next week, which is in Ontario, California, the Bucks' hometown. The 3-way will feature the winner of that match, Desmond Xavier and Myron Reed, and the good old wild card team.
Yeah.
Who is Tony signed now? This is not going to be 2 people that are just on the roster.
No, it's got to be somebody like, I don't like a tag team. Like what are some pre-agent tag teams that you could think about?
Well, it's probably not going to be anyone from New Japan because they've got New Beginning next Wednesday, so that probably eliminates all those potential options. I
don't know.
I don't know. Could they get Trey Miguel? And
doubtful. Doubtful that it would air on Dynamite. Yeah.
Maybe it's I don't know. I'm not gonna.
So they're doing this. I guess they're just swapping in, between Myron Reed and Zach Wentz. And
it looks like it could be Zack Sabre Jr. and LA Knight.
Just judging by the silhouette.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my pick. Gabe Kidd is in the production truck, choking out a producer so that they can run the footage of this snuff film that they shot all day in the desert, where we see Connors and Kidd driving their car in the desert, dragging Darby in a body bag. Our natural inclination is, how did they work this or whatever? Watching that, there's not a doubt in my mind that they dragged Darby Allin's body in this body bag.
Oh yeah.
Even if they could have cut corners and done a simple edit, and I'm sure this man just took rocks to the back of his head at 80 miles an hour.
Even if they didn't film this, I feel like he would have still volunteered to just get dragged in a body bag through the desert just to get into character. I feel
they unzip it, showing it's him. He's gagged, and they cut the rope and drive off, leaving him stranded in the desert. So he's dead, right?
No, this is not enough to kill Darby Allin. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
I'm sure, something like he's got it. He would have his cell phone. Maybe you could just call an Uber into the desert to pick him up, perhaps.
What would your service be like in the desert here?
That's a great question. I don't know. I feel like you could still dial 911. Like you still have the SOS function. Is this a 911 worthy call though? I don't know.
Imagine explaining what happened to you.
Yeah, I got stranded in the desert. I love this. I mean, I think as a way to introduce Connors and Kidd into the sort of I don't know, like proper AEW structure outside of the Death Riders, I thought this made a pretty strong impact. And visually, it was like, I mean, stunning. You know,
Wasn't the desert in Las? I think it was in Las Vegas. Wasn't that Bret Hart's last WCW appearance in the desert?
I don't recall. What do you?
They went out to the desert, and he turned on Bill Goldberg and took him out with a shovel.
Interesting. Okay.
And Bret has held on to that shovel for Bill Goldberg all these decades later.
Oh yeah, he's still working on the burial right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
MJF Brody King. So it's like 10:02, and the match begins, and all 1,700 people are chanting "Fuck Ice."
This was
Bravo,
amazing.
Vegas.
This was incredible. And at least like watching on Triller, nothing got censored. I have to imagine maybe that might have been
Charlotte, North Carolina needs to test USA Network and Netflix this Friday with this chant.
Ooh, I don't really see that. If Ava makes her way on stage, maybe that would happen. But
this should have been Ava's debut.
I hope this is Brody King's chant from now on. Like, I hope not that he'll like, you know, prompt it, but I hope it follows him. I hope this becomes a copycat.
Yeah, I mean, the fact he got this chant way, I think you're going to get a lot of people like copycatting this chant for him. I mean, it's
we'll see. It'll depend where it is, and I also wonder, like, I truly wonder if like there will be attempts made to for the company to, like, how do they feel about it? You know, like, even no matter what, how somebody feels, would they want this on air? And how would they curb that if
I mean, this was a network that was, you know, running recruitment ads for ICE.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be out. Like, as you heard when Brody King and Tony Khan were asked about this at the All Out press conference about, like, this is you know, it's, you know, they didn't say it in so many words, but that it's, you know, Brody King doesn't want to do anything that's going to cause the company harm. And it's in a situation where, you know, there is, you know, yeah, it's a complicated issue if you're going up the chain here at Warner Brothers Discovery, and
what's complicated
on their
but
broadcast.
boy, would I love to see them pressured to do something about it. So please, if you're going to one of these shows, I would love to see it.
Suffice to say, I imagine Brody King will be watching the Bad Bunny halftime show on Sunday during the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
not the
Kid Rock.
alternative.
No.
So the match begins, and then Hangman's music plays, and out comes Hangman arguing with MJF, and he's on the apron, and Brody comes from behind and chokes him from the apron. I would be really curious when they had this all plotted out, and if they did before Monday.
Yeah.
God damn it.
You know, he had to get his spot back. Yeah. All right.
I mean, this was his first and foremost. So he chokes MJF, who just falls lifeless on the floor, brought into the ring, cannonball Gonzo bomb, and Brody King wins in like less than a minute, and he is going to get the title match at Grand Slam Australia. I thought this was great. Like, if you're going to build up a title match, you do a shocking finish, which these types of finishes almost like this type of a finish, I can't recall this ever happening in any match of substance in AEW, doing the flash win and trying to make a guy a legitimate threat who, by all, like, the logic of the big story we're telling is all these contenders who are vying for a title shot. Like, Brody King is way down in the depth chart. You had to do something shocking like this to set up a match on, 10 days notice, 11 days notice when they go to Australia.
100%. Because, I mean, we certainly know there's a tier of title challenger. And when you're in the midst of promoting pay-per-view level challengers like a Kenny or Page or an Andrade, like, it's happened to Bandito. He kind of fell by the wayside. And Brody was very much in danger of doing the same. So to do the shock finish, I thought was such a brilliant way of, giving us this, what now feels like a certainly hotter than average TV title main event for Grand Slam. I just think, like, you know, they never do this sort of booking, and that's why it felt so special as a result. You couple that with like the chant, the fuck eyes chant at the beginning of this, it just made Brody King feel like a really, really hot character of this show at the end of it all. And it only took the span of 5 minutes to achieve all of this. So I thought it was a wonderful closing
MJF
scene.
cuts promos, Brody cuts lives.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah, so I thought it was a well booked finish to set up the title match for Australia, and ending a show that a lot of the focus is on Grand Slam Australia. Like, it's a big show for them. They've moved over 7,000 tickets for that show. They're running the same arena that UFC just ran for the pay-per-view this past weekend. So, yes, that is coming up February 14th. What better?
Is it a 2-hour window?
It's a 2.5 hour window, I think.
Okay.
For that. So,
yeah,
we've got 5 matches so far. At 2.5 hours, I would keep it at the 5 matches.
Well, I was just wondering if Fletcher might make his way on, and obviously,
oh, that's true.
He had to stare down with Ciampa. I wonder if they would.
I could see the TNT title match being added for Fletcher's sake. So maybe we get a 6th. But we got MJF and Brody King for the title. Hangman against Andrade, #1 contenders match. Moxley against Takeshita for the Continental Championship. Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron against Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford for the women's tag belts. And the loser must have their head shaved match with Cassidy and Timeless Toni Storm against Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta. So that's looking like a great card for Australia.
Really, I think that's a really strong card for, what is ultimately an edition of Collision, but it feels like it, like maybe just some of these matches, like Moxley versus Takeshita, very much feel like a pay-per-view level main event, or at least.
And it's worth noting they have recently lost television in Australia as well. Like this could have been a show that they just threw the towel in and didn't waste anything on. They're doing the opposite of it, and honestly, like, you move 7,000 tickets, like, you're not throwing the towel in on a show like that. And at the very least, hopefully you have like a great atmosphere for the show, because it looks like a very strong, like, your kind of takeover formatted show that could be quite the card.
The fact that we don't have a pay-per-view in either January or February is really to the show's extreme benefit, because this feels like it's just kind of beneath a pay-per-view level event. So that feels really hot. Overall, on this edition of Dynamite, I was really impressed by the booking decisions, and the way that a lot of things were weaved together to get like this Grand Slam card in place. Like, just the narrative of Kenny being so heavily positioned as like a favorite to win the tournament, to now not being there, but being involved with Swerve. Where do you think that's taking place, by the way? Swerve
Omega and Swerve?
Yeah.
I'd hold off on that till Revolution.
Yeah.
Do you think that's too long? That's like 6 weeks.
I think that's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time.
Like, it feels like, I'm wondering if they can add that to Grand Slam, or like Dynamite. I think is like a big addition of Dynamite beyond that too. I think is really a good place for it. So yeah, that's another lingering.
Yeah, it's possible. They could end up doing it on Dynamite, because it is a long time to go. I think like the hottest thing they have going right now, though, is this whole title scene. I think it's really crafted well with like your heel champion that's just trying to ward off a murderer's row of contenders, and now there's a new one added to the list in Brody King. You've got the long-term tease of Ospreay that I think gives some at least some clarity that this guy is at least on the way back as well. And honestly, like, you could map out the next 6 months very easily with all that you have in the mixer.
Yeah. I thought it was a strong addition to Dynamite for a lot of reasons. Like, again, like, to me, the building of the world is really strong at this point. And it has me excited for a lot, so in the future. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Those were our thoughts on Dynamite. Wai and I are going to be back on Thursday for members of the Post Wrestling Cafe. We're chatting Shinya Hashimoto, and we've got W.H. Park, who's going to be joining us for the whole show as we go through several of Hashimoto's biggest matches in his career. We're going to talk about the Victor Zangief match, which was the first New Japan show at the recently opened Tokyo Dome in April of 1989. We're going to chat about his matches with Tenryu, with Hiroshi Hase, with Naoya Ogawa, the January 4th, 1999 match that turns into one of the more famous matches of the last number of decades in New Japan. and his lone singles match that he had with Toshiaki Kawada in All Japan as well. And this kind of serves as sort of like a mini bio on Shinya Hashimoto himself. So this is a fun show. We put it together. I was very happy with how this one turned out.
Yeah, of all like the big sort of like Japanese 90s wrestling names, you can argue certainly of the Three Musketeers, Shinya Hashimoto is the person to maybe get the least amount of coverage and discussion, maybe, on this side of the world. So this was big part of the reason why I was so curious to dive into so many of these matches, because I came out of the review with like a really great appreciation for his body of work, and some of the big events of Japanese wrestling, like the UWFI invasion and the introduction of Inokiism in New Japan as well.
Yes, and Riki Choshu.
Yeah,
not going to put up with any of this bullshit at the Tokyo Dome. So all of that is coming up on a Thursday show. I'll be here with Wai on Friday night for Rewind-A-SmackDown. And then going into the weekend, we have Collision Course on Saturday and lots more coming your way. I do want to make mention, we announced it today, but Pollock and Thurston is going to be moving. As of next week, we are moving it from Wednesdays to Thursday evenings. So starting next week, Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be going live on the Post Wrestling and WrestleNomics YouTube channel. So that goes into effect next week. We do have a show up today going through all the latest news from Nielsen to Ashley Massaro being mentioned in the Epstein files, Royal Rumble fallout. All of that stuff can be heard on today's edition of Pollock and Thurston. So that move happening next Thursday. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to everyone here on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel. Bye-bye.